To unlock the Peacekeeper within Battlefield 1, you must complete 6 requirements. They can be done in any order of your choosing. You will need these before you go to the Passchendaele Mines where you will collect the Peacekeeper. Let's take a look at these now. You will need all 4 DLCs before proceeding. You will need to acquire these 5 dog tags as well as the M1917 MG weapon and its alternative weapon skin known as an Escalation. The 5 dog tags as well as the weapon skin can all be acquired through various tasks that you must complete. The M1917 MG itself can be unlocked by completing its weapon assignment. The weapon assignment is made available upon purchasing the Turning Tides DLC. From there, you will go to Albion to unlock its weapon skin known as an Escalation. When you do go to enter the Passchendaele Mines, you will have one of the front side dog tags equipped as well as one of the back side dog tags equipped. You will also have the M1917 MG weapon unlocked with an Escalation skin equipped. There are a few necessary preparations that we must make before completing any of the requirements. They are configuring our server browser settings and also customizing our soldier's loadout. For our server browser settings, make sure to head for the server browser section under multiplayer. We will now be selecting the appropriate filters. In the filter section, make sure to reset your filters first if you haven't done so already. For our game mode, we will select Conquest. And for our maps, I will show you which specific map to select for the specific requirement that I'm showing. I have left it blank for now. For the following tabs, including classes/vehicles, weapons, advanced, and rules, these have been left alone after resetting the filter. Do not change them. For slots, click the Toggle All button. For regions, I recommend utilizing the one with the best available ping to you, but you can also click Toggle All. The Peacekeeper requirements can be completed in any region, regardless of your ping or latency. And lastly, leave the name section blank. Your server browser settings have now been configured. Please do not change them. Furthermore, you can click Save to your filters at the bottom left, and then this will allow you to ascribe a name to the settings you have now just configured. When you click to Your Filters, you will be able to click on the name that you have ascribed, and then you will have these custom settings. But that is up to you. This is not required. Back out to the main menu and click to the Soldier section. Select the Customize Soldier tab. We will now be customizing our soldier's loadout. Make sure it is the support class. For our primary weapon, select the M1917 MG. The variant you use does not matter. For the sidearm, I recommend selecting a pistol with a quick reloadable magazine such as the M1911. The P08, MLE 1903, and C93 are also viable options. The 2 gadgets that you should have are the ammo crate and the limpet charge. Your grenade should be either the frag or stick grenade depending on your side, and your melee weapon should be the combat knife or a combat knife related weapon, such as the compact trench knife, bed 1 dagger, or broken bottle. Your specializations do not matter until the 7th and last requirement, the Passchendaele Mines. I recommend a quick regen, but there's also the Perseverance perk. I will cover these in more details when we get to that stage. The Perseverance perk is not required. Do not go out of your way to unlock it. It is only a bonus for those that already have it when attempting the Peacekeeper questline. Now that we have our server browser settings configured and our soldier's loadout customized, there are 2 important aspects of the Peacekeeper questline that you should be made aware of. The first aspect is griefers, and there are 2 types of these. The first type are players who are just happy to see another soul in their server and will want to challenge you. Most of them are very nice and will back off as soon as you send them a message that you are doing the Peacekeeper questline. The second type are active griefers. They will deliberately target the key buildings and checkpoints necessary to complete a specific requirement. Here, a heavy bomber is targeting the lighthouse, which is the last and critical point of an Escalation Easter egg. By destroying the lighthouse, this means I can no longer continue with the Easter egg and must restart in another server of Albion. You cannot fight these players, they will win every time. A pro tip I have to offer is to find yourself a world clock. See which regions are in their 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. periods. This is when the servers will be at their quietest. From there, you may join these servers not expecting too much trouble. If you still find yourself targeted by these players even after exercising this option, there is one more remaining. You can rent your own server for a limited period of time, but you cannot password protect it. If these players end up joining, just simply ban them. However, this option does cost money, so I would highly recommend trying out the DICE official servers before utilizing this option. Another major aspect is Morse code. You must be able to translate it. It is an integral part of 3 requirements: a beginning dog tag, an Omen dog tag, and an escalation. These 3 requirements will be playing the Morse code at varying frequencies and properties, but is Morse code nonetheless. Here are a few common methods for translating Morse code that you may find useful. One of them is to record your gameplay footage and play it back either on your phone after you've recorded it or onto another app and play it back at a very slow pace, meaning you will be able to hear the dots and dashes. I'm not too familiar with this method, so I can't comment too much on it, but here's an example of it being shown. Another option is to utilize an external program like Audacity. You will be able to record your audio as a spectrogram. I will first allow you to test your own Morse code recording abilities before I use Audacity to record it and show you the solution. Test your Morse recording here. This time, I'm going to play the same Morse string, but I'm going to have Audacity running in the background recording the Morse code so I can show you the solution in real time. I will explain in more detail later when we get to an Omen dog tag requirement, but the solution is a Morse translation of the Latin phrase known as Dulce et decorum est pro patria mori. The infiltrator will not be able to hear 8 of the letters within this phrase. What is seen in the spectrogram I just recorded is the Morse translation box in the bottom left, the letters D, L, E, E, and so on. It is now time to proceed with the Peacekeeper questline. I will first cover the 2 easiest dog tags to obtain as they take less than 10 minutes combined. The Belly of the Beast dog tag. In your server browser settings, select the map Caporetto. While loading into Caporetto, you will notice in the top left of your screen that it says Conquest Assault, not Conquest. For the purposes of this Easter egg, Conquest Assault means conquest. You will likely start as the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Make sure to spawn in as them. For this Easter egg, we will be destroying a group of 5 statues. I recommend using the telescopic variant of the M1917 MG, but it is not required. Spawning in, we will immediately turn around. There will be a group of vehicles that will spawn into the world. Enter one of them. The statues are located near the Bravo objective. Head to that location. Throughout this guide, I will do my best to follow the official paths and roads as designed by the developers of the game. You do not have to do this. Proceed to any of the locations however you see fit. I am doing this to provide assistance to any players who may need additional help navigating. However, I will be speeding up these segments for future requirements. Take a right at this junction and stop before the entryway of these two towers. Exit the vehicle and you will see the first of the 5 statues located next to the Livens projector. Use a limpet charge to destroy it at its base. Turning around, you will see 3 more statues. These are statues 2 to 4. If I bipod and zoom, you will see a 5th and final statue located behind all these statues. Head down the staircase and travel to the leftmost statue. You will be shooting its head off. I have only partially shot out its face. You will need a clean decapitation. Heading for the middle statue, you will be shooting its torso out. The most reliable way of destroying this statue is to shoot the overlapping arm. And lastly, for the rightmost statue, you will be clipping its right wingtip. Depending on the correct destruction of the 4 statues so far, you will hear a lovely white noise being played. There is one final statue that we must destroy. Head down the 2nd staircase and run across the road. Behind the statue is a hidden button that you can interact with. Interacting with this prompt will arm explosives located within all the statues. They will be destroyed. You will hear a triumphant horn and a dog tag noise similar to when you melee a player. There is nothing more to do here. Proceed to back out. You have now unlocked the Belly of the Beast dog tag, an Angel Sighting dog tag. In your server browser settings, select the map River Somme. In this requirement, you will be interacting with a morse station twice to input a specific series of numbers. Once again, check in the top left that it is River Somme on Conquest Assault. You will likely start on the British Empire. Make sure to spawn in as them. We will be heading for the sucre factory or the sugar factory located near the Echo objective. There is a motorbike that spawns near the Alpha objective that we can use to travel to this factory. Embark on the motorbike and you will be heading in a relatively straight line to the factory. We are now at the factory. You will see the word sucre written at its top. Head inside and you will see a dirt-filled circle with a metal outline. Use a limpet charge, place it in the middle to explode the dirt out of it. If done correctly, you will now see a morse station with 5 white lights. If you go prone in here, you will be able to interact with these lights by turning them on and off. Because it's a morse station, lights on mean dots and lights off mean dashes. Additionally, there is a hidden interact prompt located at the base of the top right lamp. Interact with it to confirm 1 number's worth of Morse code. I will make both sequences and their corresponding Morse inputs available in the description of this video. They are also available in the Battlefield Easter Egg Discord community or the Battlefield 1 Detectives Wiki. Depending that you have inputted the first sequence 0, 6, 2, 7 correctly, the lights will flash and an ominous noise will proceed to play. We must activate an attic switch located in Wellington Farm at Objective Apples. Wellington House is the one with the front extension and the green door to the left. Get off the bike and equip a limpet charge. Target the corner where the side extension meets the house. Jumping while throwing may produce a better result. Approach the side of the building and ascend to the chimney. Inside it, you will see a circular switch. To interact with it, you must climb the chimney itself and go prone. You will interact with the circular switch once. Head back to the sugar mill. You will be inputting one final sequence. Arriving at the sugar mill, the station's lights are now green. This is confirmation that you are proceeding with the Easter egg correctly. I will post the codes in this guide, but you will find a clearer version of them in the description of this video. Upon inputting the last number for the second sequence, a triumphant horn will play, accompanied by a dog tag noise. Leave the server and proceed with your next requirement. Here is an example of me incorrectly placing the limpet charge. It will detonate and only a partial amount of the dirt will be removed. Only 2 of the light switches are now visible. I cannot re-limpet charge this extra dirt away. I would have 2 options here. I could either proceed with the requirement as normal, making extra sure that I have correctly tracked which light switches I have activated, or I can restart in another server of River Psalm. You only get 1 chance to correctly place the limpet charge per server. One important thing to note is that the lamps will flash when you make an input. They do not have to be the correct input necessarily. Here I am inputting the obviously wrong morse input, yet the lamps still flash. You are allowed to get the morse sequence wrong an infinite amount of times. The game will not punish you. Instead, just restart the sequence from the beginning. For the first sequence 0, 6, 2, 7, restart your inputs from 0. Once again, if the circular switch does not appear, throw another limpet charge in the cavitation of the chimney. The circular switch will then appear. You've now unlocked an Angel Sighting dog tag. An Omen dog tag. In your server browser settings, select the map Zeebrugge. Loading into a game of Zeebrugge, you will likely start as the Royal Marines. Make sure to spawn in with them and take one of their boats available. We will be heading for Objective Edward, the burning ship. The burning ship has ladders available to climb on its side. Park your boat near the bow of the ship and wait for the infiltrator kit to spawn. One tip I'd recommend is to stand in a corner near the boat that you just parked so that it doesn't despawn and explode. If it does, don't worry about this, it just means that you will have to run across the map once you've gotten the infiltrator kit. Through repeated testing, I've determined that the infiltrator kit on average takes about 3.5 minutes to spawn in. It will spawn in pre-round. Once the infiltrator kit spawns, go ahead and pick it up. You will now be traveling to Objective Apples. If your boat has survived, you may transport yourself directly there, otherwise you would have to run across the entire map. Disembark from the boat when you have arrived at the beach. You will now ascend the water tower. Once at the top, do not move. You will hear an ominous noise followed by the activation of a machine. A Morse code will begin to play. The Morse code string, or the phantom Morse currently being played, translates to a Latin phrase known as Dulce et decorum est pro patria mori. The infiltrator unit will be able to hear the entirety of the phrase except for 8 letters. Your job is to figure out which of the 8 letters are missing within the phrase. This is a server-dependent process, meaning the 8 missing letters are randomized each time you hop into a new server of Zeebrugge. I will now repeat the process of listening to the phantom Morse, except I will have a tool running in the background that will record my Morse code. I have obtained my spectrogram. I'm going to type out what I see into the Enter Morse box and click Solve. Alternatively, you can also manually find out which of the 8 letters are missing and then enter the translated Morse. What you see in the spectrogram version is the Morse translation, Delta, Lima, Echo, Echo, and so on. These are the letters heard by the infiltrator. If you were to enter the highlighted Morse translation into the Enter Translated Morse box and click Solve, you would receive the same 8 missing letter solution. What we are going to be doing with the missing letters is entering them in Morse stations very similar to what we just did for an angel sighting. First, the letters are converted to numbers which have their own Morse alternatives. If you decide to use an Omen solver, this will be done for you. You can either utilize the combinations and directly turn on or off the lights for their Morse alternatives, or if you look to the machine configurations on the right, you will be directly told which lights to keep on and which lights to turn off. Now that I have my solution, it is time to interact with the Morse stations. Climb down from the ladder and we will be heading for Building 1, known as Station 1, which is located near the Butters objective. Enter through the right door and you will see 4 Morse station machines. You will be interacting with each Morse station machine from the left to the right, meaning you will physically sweep the room from the left to the right as well. To interact with a Morse station machine, you will be approaching one of its lights to turn it on or off. The machine's lights will start as activated. When you interact with them, you will turn them off. I have now inputted the letter uniform. For the second machine, I will be inputting my second missing letter, Charlie. I will now be turning the right 4 lights off for machine 2, which correspond to the letter Charlie's Morse alternative. I will now be repeating this process for machines 3 and 4 for the letters Delta and Charlie. You can have letters repeat in your 8 missing letter solution. So far, we've entered 4 missing letters worth of Morse code, but there are 8 missing letters in total. There is a second building that we must travel to input the final 4 missing letters. The room that we will do it in is identical to the room just now. Station 3, or Building 2, is located between the Delta and Edward objectives. But watch out, there is a building known as Station 3A. Do not enter Station 3A. Here is Station 3, otherwise known as Building 2 in an Omen solver. Enter through the right door once again and you will see 4 more Morse stations. Repeat the same process as before. Enter the final 4 missing letters alternative Morse codes into the Morse stations. Upon correctly inputting the 8 missing letters Morse alternatives into the Morse stations, a smoke grenade will drop and an ominous noise will proceed to play. There is nothing else to do here. Proceed to back out. The weather event to watch out for on Zeebrugge is a storm accompanied by heavy rain. You will be able to both physically see and hear this rain in the background. Water droplets will appear on your character's equipment, and it will also sometimes splash across your screen. There are 2 important things to note about an Omen dog tag. First, the variation of Dulce et decorum est pro patria mori that is heard by the infiltrator is server dependent. What this means is that each time you hop into a new server of Zeebrugge, you will get different variations of this code. It is highly unlikely that your 8-letter solution will be the same as another player's. With this in mind though, the Morse code strings are played an infinite amount of times while on the water tower. Take as much time as you need to both record and translate the Morse code. Once the ominous noise plays, do not move your character. If you interrupt the Morse code string, you will no longer be able to hear the phantom Morse. Instead, you will be provided the randomized variations of the infiltrator Morse that sometimes play when your character stands still. For the infiltrator unit to be able to hear any Morse code, it must be stood still. This also applies to the phantom Morse. In this case, I moved my character while the phantom Morse was playing, and so it was interrupted. I will attempt to trigger the Easter egg again, but it will not be the phantom Morse that plays. Instead, I will get a randomized version of the infiltrator Morse code. And lastly, if the generators for the Morse code inputs are destroyed, you can still interact with them. You will just have to be cautious of which lights you turn off or you turn back on. You've now unlocked an Omen dog tag. A conflict dog tag. Before we proceed, grab yourself a piece of paper and draw the 2 grids shown. The top grid is the fountain square, and the bottom grid is the light zone. The light zone is a perfect 8x8 grid, where the fountain square is just an oddly shaped 8x8 grid resembling the light zone. You need these 2 grids at the minimum to solve a conflicts Floorlight puzzle. You do not need to copy the log shown in the top right corner or match the sharpening of the corners or drawing the plus signs in the middle of the grids. I use these for when I personally solve a conflicts Floorlight puzzle. In your server browser settings, select the map Soissons. For this requirement, I am going to frame my explanations slightly differently. So far, I have shown as I went, but now I'm going to show before I perform a live demonstration of what I am explaining. This is because the A Conflict dog tag features multiple puzzles needed to be solved, which may seem perplexing at first to many players, but they are actually quite simple. You will likely start out as the French Republic, make sure to swap to the German Empire. This requirement will demand the full loadout that we have previously customized. Feel free to match what I have shown on the screen, but you may use whatever you'd like. If you decide to utilize a different loadout, make sure your primary is an LMG with plenty of bullets, your sidearm is a quick reloadable pistol, and your melee weapon is a combat knife or a combat knife related weapon. Once again, they are not required, but they are best suited for the task at hand. First, we will be destroying all light sources within a specific building. It is the Edward Objective Building, otherwise known as the Chateau. There are 3 types of light sources, 2 of which can be seen here: wall lights, ceiling lights, and candlesticks. Destroy all light sources within the Chateau. Spawn in, follow the path through the black gates to head for the Edward Objective Building. You do not have to copy throwing a limpet charge in the fountain square. Carefully enter the building, and the first step I recommend is to throw a grenade between the sandbag and crates. Pretty soon, you will be interacting with this part of the floor as part of the Floorlight puzzle, and you do not want a scuff mark on it. This prevents that. And these are your wall lights. They will only render into the world if you are close enough to them, so make sure that you are well within their rendering distance before shooting them out. Ceiling lights are easy to destroy, just shoot them out. The best way to tackle candlesticks is with your combat knife or a combat knife related weapon. Stand about a meter away or a few feet away and find the minimum striking distance before a hit registers on the candlestick. Stand here and then attack the rest of the candlestick. When all light sources within the building have been destroyed, an ominous noise will proceed to play. We are now on step 2 of 3, the candelabra step. The candelabra step involves you interacting with a specific candlestick at its base. This will trigger 1 or more candlesticks within the building to illuminate. These candles have specific assigned numbers ranging from 1 to 7. You will record the numbers of the candlesticks which have lit up since interacting with candlestick number 1 at its base, and then recording it in a tool known as a conflict candle solver. There are 7 candlesticks in total. This is candlestick number 1. You can also find a map of the candlestick layouts in a conflict candle solver. You will be recording 7 IDs worth of numbers in total. Then you will be given a solution where you will interact with specific candlesticks at their bases to input this. Upon completion, another ominous noise will play out. The tool that you will utilize to help you solve this puzzle is known as a conflict candle solver, provided by the Battlefield Easter egg community. Furthermore, a step-by-step guide explaining the process I've just described is also made available. First, interact with candlestick number 1 at its base. This will trigger a function which will cause 1 or more candlesticks to now light up. This can include candlestick number 1 itself. You will then run across the Objective Edward building, recording the IDs of any candlesticks that have lit up into one of the ID boxes. You will start with ID number 1. Record the numbers of the candlesticks themselves in numerical order for each of the ID boxes. If done correctly, the function will result in only one candlestick being lit up for ID number 7. You will record which number candlestick this is and then proceed to click Solve. Here I am about to interact with candlestick number 1 for the first time. When I click it, I will now have activated ID number 1 in my A Conflict Candle Solver. Shown here, candlesticks 1 and 5 have lit up. For my A Conflict Candle Solver, I would put 1, 5 in ID number 1. In my A Conflict Candle Solver, I'm clicking on the ID number 1 box and I'm putting in 1, 5. I am making sure that there are no spaces outside of the numbers or in between the numbers. Note that the numbers are listed in numerical order. After this, it is time to repeat the process for IDs number 2 to 7. I've clicked candlestick number 1 again, and now I'm on ID number 2. Candlesticks number 1, 2, 3, and 5 have been illuminated. I will now record the new IDs in ID number 2. In the ID number 2 box, I will input 1, 2, 3, 5. Once again, these are listed in numerical order and there are no spaces outside of the numbers or in between the numbers. I will demonstrate this process one more time for ID number 3, but when you attempt candelabra yourself, you will have to input IDs number 1 to 7 for yourself. ID number 7 will generate one lit candlestick. For ID number 3, candlesticks 1, 2, and 3 have remained lit. Candlestick number 5 has been replaced by a lit candlestick 6. In ID number 3, I would input 1, 2, 3, and 6. When you attempt the candelabra Easter egg, you will not get the same results as I have. You will have to input new numbers for IDs number 1 to 7. Activating candlestick 1 for a 7th time to activate ID number 7 generates one candlestick to be lit. In my example, this was candlestick number 7. I would then go to input it in my conflict candle solver and click Solve. I have inputted IDs 4 to 6 off camera. I'm now inputting 7 in ID number 7. When I click Solve, the solution is 3, 3, 3. In this example, I'm interacting with candlestick number 3 times. After having received your solution, immediately go to input it. Your solution will cause all of the other candlesticks to light up. When all have been lit, you will hear another ominous noise. You will now have completed 2 of the 3 puzzles. The last puzzle is known as the Floorlight puzzle. The puzzle is an 8x8 grid where you will interact with pillars in pairs that will activate specific light spots on the grid. Wait a minute or two inside the building before approaching the fountain square. Given enough time, 12 sandbags will spawn in the fountain square, which you will then map out in your fountain square grid on your paper sheet. Your goal is to match the 12 sandbag positions outside in the fountain square in terms of the light spots that you can activate in the 8x8 light zone grid. There are 2 ways to play this game. As shown before, the combination of a row pillar and a column pillar will generate a light spot on this 8x8 grid, but you can also deactivate a light by activating the same pillar pairing. First, you will map out the 12 sandbag positions that you see in your fountain square into your fountain square grid located at the top of this sheet. You will then match those exact positions through translation in your light zone grid. As you can see, the fountain square is just an oddly shaped 8x8 grid. There are 16 pillars in the map. For an 8x8 grid, 8 of them will control rows and 8 of them will control columns. The catch is that the identities of the pillars are randomized each time you hop into a new server a Soissons. You will have to figure out for yourself which of the 8 pillars control rows and which of the 8 pillars control columns for your server. Light spots, like the one shown here, will only generate if you successfully activate a row pillar with a column pillar in your pillar pairings. To summarize the process, first figure out which pillars control rows and which pillars control columns for your server. Use this knowledge to then activate the 12 specific light spots corresponding to your sandbag positions outside in the fountain square. Once you've completed the candelabra portion of the requirement, the sandbags will take a bit of time to spawn, and you must be inside the building as they do so. This is a perfect time to set up our grid. You will start on the bottom right corner of this checker that is closest to the corner of the wall. You will proceed to shoot 3 squares to the left. Shoot 8 squares above to set up your rows. 8 squares across will now set up your columns, then simply complete the square. A pro tip I suggest is to draw a plus sign through your grid. This may better help you to orientate your corners, but it is not a necessary part of the process. I've drawn a circle at the top of the grid to let you know that this is the top of your grid. The sandbags will now have been given ample amounts of time to spawn. You will now head outside to map out the 12 sandbag positions. While in your fountain square, you may have noticed that these sandbags can exist on different levels of the staircases. There are 4 different levels exactly, and guides will label them as different colors. Specifically, from the bottom of the staircase to the top of the staircase, they are green, yellow, orange, and red. Green sandbags are the easiest to identify. They exist in the dark corners, so there are 4 possible spots for them. Here is one of them. I will shoot the other possible locations. Yellow sandbags are 2 steps from the bottom. I was lucky enough in this server to receive the 2 examples of how they may be positioned on the staircase. Orange sandbags exist 4 steps from the bottom. You will see this one positioned between the yellow and red sandbags. Red sandbags exist 6 steps from the bottom, or the second to last step. They will always be the highest sandbags out of all the possible levels. I have now covered the basics of the 4 possible levels that sandbags can exist in. If you would like to see an example of the 12 sandbag positions being mapped out, I recommend watching one of my walkthroughs featured in my A Conflict playlist. Once again, your paper sheet should now look like this, with the sandbag positions recorded in the fountain square translated into the light zone grid. Step 1 is to ascertain the identities of the pillars. An 8x8 grid means 8 pillars control rows and 8 pillars control columns. The process in which you go about this is completely up to you. One method I would recommend is to choose a pillar between 1 and 16, known as your reference pillar. You will keep it the same as you test it in pairings with all the other available pillars. Any light spots that generate would be because of the numbers you changed and not your reference pillar. This is the method I will be demonstrating in this guide. Be careful if you decide to use the photo for the orientation and mapping of the pillars. The fountain square is at the top of this photo, but it was behind me in the last shot I showed. As I sweep the building from left to right, I am now viewing pillars 1 to 8. At the other side of the building, shown here, are pillars 9 to 16 from left to right. Let's test a pillar pairing. I will test pillar 4, the one to the left of this door that I am currently aiming at, with pillar number 1 to the left of this building. I go inside and see that a light spot has activated. A light spot is only generated upon the successful pairing of a column and row pillar, meaning that pillars 4 and 1 are contrasting row and column pillars, but I do not know which is which until further investigation. I am activating the pillar pairing of 4 and 2. 4 and 2 did not generate a light spot. This is considered a miss. A miss happens when both pillars tested are either both rows or both columns. You should record any and all misses for their specific pillar pairings. For example, the pillars 2, 3, and 5 were all misses. It was only until I activated the pillar pairing of 4 and 6 which generated the second light spot. Two vertical lights within the same column mean that 4 is my column and 1 and 6 were the two light spots that generated are rows. Each light spot that now generates between 1 and 16 is now a row. Any misses are columns. The opposite logic applies. If I received two horizontal lights within the same plane, that would have meant my reference pillar of 4 is a row and that the two numbers I changed are columns. I know now that for this server, 4 is a column and that any light spot that now generates with the changing pillars are rows. For example, the three light spots shown here are 1, 6, and 7. 1, 6, 7 are now rows. 2, 3, and 5, the pillars that missed, are columns, and I will test them with one of the rows I've discovered. I have fast-forwarded through the testing. The fully lit column means I have tested the pillar 4 with all of the other available pillars. The fully lit row means I have tested one of the rows I discovered with the columns that were previously misses. At this stage, I now know the identities of what pillars control rows and which pillars control columns. I will proceed to turn all of the lights I've used for testing off by activating the same pillar pairings again. Then, I will activate the 12 specific light spots corresponding to the 12 specific sandbag positions in the fountain square. Upon activating the 12th and final light spot, a smoke grenade will drop and an ominous noise will proceed to play. The conflict dog tag is awarded to one player only, whoever activates the pillar pairing to generate this action. There is a chance that an ominous noise will not play when you've destroyed all light sources. This is likely due to a wall light not being rendered into the world by the time you destroyed it, so the game considers it active, but you will no longer be able to see it. The counter to this is to either restart in a new server Swisson, or you can try and troubleshoot which wall light you think it was. For the candelabra puzzle, here is additional footage of the candlestick numbers and their locations for when the building's interior is destroyed. Each time you interact with a candlestick, you have a 4-minute window to complete the task at hand. This task can either be inputting a new ID or the solution at the end. Anything greater than 4 minutes and the candles will turn off. You must now restart the puzzle. You will be given a new variation of it, requiring you to delete any IDs you've recorded so far. You may stay in the same server as Swisson, but you will have to now start from scratch. For the sandbag positions in the fountain square, I recommend walking along the corners of each of the staircases because they are dark within the game, and you may initially miss the sandbags if you do not do this. If you are still confused about the Floorlight puzzle process, I will include a personal example of how I solved this server's Floorlight puzzle at the end of this guide. I also recommend watching one of the walkthroughs featured in my A Conflict playlist. You have now unlocked a conflict dog tag. A beginning dog tag. In your server browser settings, select the map Suez. The beginning dog tag shares properties very similar to the candelabra step of the conflict dog tag Easter egg. You will initiate a process and repeat it several times. These are known as stages. You will pick up a pair of headphones, listen to a Morse code played at a Morse station, and then locate a symbol within one of the 9 base maps. Make sure to spawn as the British Empire as a cavalry unit. There are 5 possible headphone locations within Suez. The first one is located to your right near the entrance of the oasis. The first pair will be located just underneath this small palm tree. Walk over the headphones to pick them up. They will make an ammo resupply noise. Once you have the headphones, you can immediately go to the Morse station. However, I will still be showing the 4 other possible locations. For the second pair of headphones, look to your left and you will see a trail of barbed wire spikes. Follow alongside them, keeping in line with the tower at the end. Once at the top of this hill, you will begin to see part of a station dock just beyond the out-of-bounds territory. The second pair of headphones are located here. The second pair of headphones are located next to these barrels in a loop of rope. For the third pair of headphones, they are located to the right of a palm tree in a grass patch at the Butters objective. Once next to this wooden door, disembark from your horse. Go to the leftmost palm tree or the furthest one away from you. The headphones are located to the right of this palm tree. The fourth possible location for the headphones are located in a cluster of rocks to the opposite of the Delta flagpole. Once in tangent with the flagpole, disembark from the horse and turn 90 degrees to your right. The cluster of rocks are situated at the corner of this partially destroyed building. They should be to the left of this grass patch. The fifth and final possible location for the headphones on Suez are located 90 degrees to the right of the radio tower at the Edward objective. They are also located in a cluster of rocks. Once at the radio tower, turn 90 degrees to your right and you will see a destroyed structure. The headphones within this structure are located in the top left from the radio tower. They will be in the small opening encircled by these rocks. Remember, only 1 pair of headphones will spawn per server of Suez. Provided that you have successfully located and acquired a pair of headphones, it is time to head for the Morse station, otherwise restart in a new server of Suez. Following this road, you will see a slight curved section that pokes out from the rest of the road. Turn to the left when you are at this spot, and you will find the Morse station. The Morse station machine will activate when you cross its radius threshold. When you approach close enough to it, it will activate and a Morse code will soon begin to play. A color will flash, indicating what stage you're on. This is stage 1 white. The colors and stages will be same for everybody. There are 9 stages in total, but you only have to translate and decrypt the Morse for 8 of them. The tool that we are going to use to solve for these symbol locations is known as Mozzi's Morse Solver. A few of the stages are locked behind ciphers that you must be able to utilize to solve for your location. Mozzi's Morse Solver automatically does this for you. You can manually solve with these ciphers for your symbol locations, but I will not cover the methods in this guide. Instead, another video will be linked in the description where it does cover the manual solving for the symbol locations. Once again, have your Morse recording tool on standby as you approach the machine. Once it activates, do not move. The beginning part of the Morse string is the most important in successfully determining the symbol location. Take as much time as you need. The Morse code will be played an infinite amount of times. Mozzie's Morse solver will likely start you on the All button. This is perfectly fine to use. You can also directly click onto the stage number and its color. For example, I've clicked onto stage 1 white. I type in a bit of the code and I get panel water après-mont. Scrolling down, you'll be shown an overhead perspective of the map with the symbol locations being marked by lettered map markers. Scrolling further down, you will see the exact symbol positions corresponding to each letter. Your specific symbol location has the purple box outline. Once you've decrypted your Morse code and subsequently have found your symbol location, back away from the Morse station. It will be destroyed, and you will then back out to hop into a server responsible for your symbol location. In this case, I've received Argonne Forest, which is the map I will be selecting. It does not matter which side you decide to spawn in. As I travel to the location, here are the rules for the symbol locations. There are 9 base maps and 3 possible symbol locations for each map, totaling to 27 possible symbol locations. You will only get 8 stages total that you need to translate and decrypt. The stage 1 that I've received, Panel Water après-mont, will likely not be the same as your stage 1. All players will receive a unique string of symbol locations for their 8 stages, but the possible symbol locations are the same for everybody. I will post a link in the description for all 27 possible symbol locations, some of them being locked behind furniture. Use a limpet charge if this is so. And now I've approached the symbol location. It will only spawn into the world when you get very close to it. What we are trying to do here is to have the game recognize that we are looking at this symbol. It will mark this with a triumphant horn. One method I would recommend is to stand in line as close to the symbol as possible. Slowly back away until you trigger the triumphant horn. That triumphant horn is the same for everybody, regardless of the stage. It is now time to repeat the process. We are going to go to Suez, pick up another pair of headphones, and listen to another Morse code. We are now on stage 2 yellow. I have my Morse recording tool recording in the background. I am not moving my character while I am recording. Once again, about 10 to 15 seconds worth of the Morse string should be sufficient. I start typing what I see on the spectrogram and the possibilities of locations are reduced. And soon enough, it is reduced to just one, tree train après-mont. This is different from what I received for stage 1 white, which was panel water après-mont. You cannot have symbol locations repeat, but you can get symbol locations within the same map. The purple box surrounding the text signifies our location. You can also click on All, but you cannot have it selected on a different number stage than the one you're on. You can also click on the Show Cards option, which shows a simplified version of the material and the Morse code required to produce that location result. Once again, I will destroy the machine, confirming to you that I have listened to it, and I will back out, heading to a new server of Argonne Forest. You are allowed to hop in the same server as you were just previously in if you have a repeat map for your symbol locations. The symbol was shown to be at the end of this carriage. I would now back out, heading into another server of Suez to repeat the process for the remaining stages, stages 3 to 8. but you will need to translate and decrypt the Morse code, activating the symbol locations for stages 1 to 8. One stage that is slightly tricky because of how it plays the Morse code is stage 6 orange. It is also sometimes known as stage 6 gold. The dots and dashes will be played individually. When I type out what I see in the spectrogram into Mozzie's Morse solver, I will type out each dash and dot individually. Note how much I have to type before a location is produced. This is not necessary, but I recommend recording the Morse string in its entirety. A lore message might be recorded as well, but you will be able to tell the difference between the two, because the lore message will not be spaced out and will be played quite quickly. If this is slightly difficult, you also have the option of typing out the Morse code as the letters T and E for tango and echo respectively. Tangos are dashes, echoes are dots. Either method will produce the same location. If your symbol location is the same map where you are listening at the Morse station, you can just immediately travel to this symbol. You do not have to restart in another server of the same map. To activate the triumphant horn, I had to back away from the Morse station machine, which caused it to be destroyed. Because it's destroyed, I must restart in a new server Suez to generate the next stage. For stage 9 cyan, pick up one last pair of headphones and head for the Morse station. When you activate the machine, you are immediately ready to proceed with the next step, but you may stay for as long as you'd like. You do not need to type anything into Mozzie's Morse solver. The location will be the same for everybody. It is known as the Giant's Shadow Balcony Lookup Location. Once again, select the map Giant's Shadow. I recommend spawning as the German Empire, but the side you spawn as does not matter. Head for any one of the windmills located on the map. Once you've arrived at a windmill, ascend it to its very top. You will be standing on its ledge. Having climbed the ladder, position yourself on the ledge, the left corner furthest away from the ladder, and face your character towards the trees. You have now activated a 2-minute timer which you will wait out. After waiting out a 2-minute timer, a specific pigeon will fly towards the character with its wings extended. You want it to clip through part of your character so that it can deliver the dog tag that it's currently holding. The pigeon will appear soon. It will make its strafe in line with the edge of the balcony. Once again, make sure it clips through part of your character. There is nothing else to do here. You may now back out to proceed with the next requirement. It is best to not record your Morse code strings while there is a weather event occurring in the background. For the map Suez, it is a sandstorm. Gusts of sand will roll off the dunes, and you will see leaves falling from the palm trees. Your progress will also be saved. Here is footage of Stage 1 being activated. The player then hops into a new server of Suez 15 hours later from when they received the symbol location from the Morse code string. Here is the symbol being activated. You may stop your progress in the beginning at any time. You can then complete other requirements to find that your progress will be saved when you come back to a beginning. You cannot brute force your way through this requirement. What I mean by this is that you cannot check all 27 possible symbol locations for each of the 9 base maps. Ruin Venture Perron is my symbol location, but I will first check the 2 incorrect symbol locations. Once again, nothing will be here. This is Travesty Attic Perron, which is the second possible symbol location for St. Quentin Scar, but it is not the one I received. I received Ruin Venture Perron. I will go to there now. Here is what would be the correct symbol location, but while I'm on the same server and went to the wrong symbol locations beforehand, no symbol appears on this wall. I would have to back out, listen to the Morse station machine again, and then go back to the ruined Venture Perron location on another server of St. Quentin Scar. If you miss the bird and don't get a triumphant horn or a dog tag noise, do not fret. Simply exit the windmill, step outside, and wait a few seconds. Once again, ascend the windmill, standing at the top left corner or the left corner furthest away from you on the ledge. You will activate another 2-minute timer, and the pigeon will fly towards your character again. While it is not shown here, a tip I recommend is to stand furthest to the corner of the ledge as possible and perhaps aim down the sight of your weapon as the bird approaches your character. This may produce a more reliable result in getting the triumphant horn and dog tag noise to activate. You've now unlocked a beginning dog tag, an Escalation weapon skin. In your server browser settings, select the map Albion. If you are in the unique position where you have a friend with this weapon skin already unlocked and you do not care about acquiring it yourself, you may directly skip to the Passchendaele Mines. Otherwise, proceed as normal. This is the last requirement. For this map, make sure you spawn in as the Russian Empire. Once again, we are unlocking a skin for the M1917 MG. Spawn in and look for a road to your left. Follow it to a radio tower situated between the Delta and Edward objectives. The radio tower itself is closer to the Delta flag. Once at the radio tower, use a limpet charge and a Russian standard grenade to destroy the wooden crates and pallets in front of you. You've now cleared the area to interact with 9 metal boxes located in this area. You will click or interact with each of these boxes once, and you can do it in any order. Once you have interacted with each of the 9 metal boxes once and once only, you will be heading for a house located at Objective Freddy. The specific house that you are looking for has 2 defining features, a burning woodpile to its left and the Objective Freddy flagpole to its right. Enter the house and you will proceed to throw a grenade at the wooden dresser. Head inside and there will be a switch that you can interact with. Crouch down and you will see the Masterman skull on top. Interact with the switch once. Repeat the previous step where you interact with each of the 9 boxes once and then head back to the Objective Freddy house. You will see the switch once more. Interact with it 4 times. It is now time to head back to the radio tower one last time. Go prone in front of the radio tower to receive the clearest form of the audio. The Morse code that is currently being played is a randomized 5-letter sequence which ranges from the letters Alpha to Foxtrot. As you can see, the Morse code is repeated quite often and in short intervals. This means that it may be difficult to distinguish when the code actually starts. You must do this visually. The gaps between the last letter and the first letter, so Bravo and Delta, will be larger than the gaps in between each letter. I have made specific cuts using Audacity to show you where the larger gaps exist in the code. The Morse code can be difficult to obtain, but it will be repeated an infinite amount of times. Take as much time as you need to both record and translate this Morse code. Once you've obtained your Morse code, you will be heading for a cluster of houses located just before the Apple's objective. You will be destroying a series of lanterns with your melee weapon located in these wooden houses. Approach the houses, carefully opening the doors to not disturb anything inside. The specific lanterns are always located to the right of the door. I've destroyed 1 lantern out of 6. You may destroy all lanterns in any order. For this house specifically, with the front doorway extension, the lantern is outside of the front door. Please do not destroy the circular bulbs inside. Once you've destroyed the 6th and final lantern, it is time to enter the lighthouse. You will be interacting with a series of switches to input a specific sequence of codes in the form of letters. Destroying the lanterns activated a series of switches within the lighthouse, ranging from the letters Foxtrot to Alpha from the base of the lighthouse to the top of the lighthouse. You will be inputting a part universal code, which also includes the Morse letters you received from the radio tower. I will now begin to input the code. Interact with each switch once to input 1 letter. With the first section of the code now loaded in, it is time for you to input the Morse letters that you've received from the radio tower. The letters from the radio tower are loaded in. Input the rest of the sequence. After activating the last switch, rush to the top of the lighthouse past switch A. There will be a small light source in front of the main one that you can interact with to complete the requirement. With the 6 requirements now completed, you are ready to enter the labyrinth. The weather event for Albion is a snowstorm. Visibility will be poor in the background and you will be able to physically hear gusts of wind. You can tell the difference between a normal server of Albion and the weather event because snowflakes will fall onto your character's glove. If you make a mistake while interacting with each of the 9 metal boxes, you will not get an interaction prompt at the Objective Freddy house. I would recommend trying again in a new server. If at any point you mess up the sequencing of the letter switches, do not worry. Simply restart inputting your code from the beginning or the letter Charlie. You will have 30 seconds from when you input the last letter of the code, delta, to when you activate the light switch at the very top. You will not get an interaction prompt if you take longer than 30 seconds to activate the light source. At this point, you must restart the entire requirement in a new server of Albion. If you have gotten your Morse code correct but still cannot interact with the light switch, you have gotten your Morse code wrong and you will need to check it again. Those with a keen eye for details will have noticed that earlier in my guide, I was able to interact with the light switch 2 more times. Theoretically, if you were well positioned enough, you could quickly claim an escalation skin with up to 2 friends. Have the individual inputting the code on the switches to interact with the light switch first, and then the friends waiting beside them to follow. You've now unlocked an Escalation weapon skin. You will notice that the dog tags you've unlocked for this multi-phase Easter egg are located in the progression sections for both the front and backside tags. Make sure to equip one front side dog tag and one backside dog tag. I have equipped an Omen and Belly of the Beast for this example. From your server browser settings, select the map Passchendaele. You will be spawning in as the German Empire. Make sure you have one frontside dog tags, they are the ones with the Masterman skulls, and one of the backside dog tags, an Angel Sighting or Belly of the Beast equipped. I am showing that I have an Escalation equipped for the M1917 MG. Another useful addition is to have the A Quick Regen specialization equipped in your loadout, but it is not necessary. It is now time to spawn in. You will be heading for a mineshaft entrance which is located underneath the Objective Edwards flagpole. Melee or shoot the wooden sign. You should now see the Masterman skull. Crouching inside, there are now 2 plungers that you can interact with. You will be inputting this specific Morse code. It translates to Unknowable. The left plunger will activate dots and the right plunger will activate dashes. Upon correctly inputting the sequence, you will no longer be able to interact with the detonation switches. The earth will begin to rumble, accompanied by an ominous noise with smoke. Heading inside, you will see another plunger. Activating it will send you into the labyrinth. A trapdoor will send you into an area where you can choose between 4 directions worth of tunnels. These represent the cardinal directions. You must travel a specific sequence of these directions, the first one being west. Plungers will be located at the ends of the tunnels that you can interact with. Choosing the correct direction will drop you into the next set of tunnels. Choosing the incorrect one will drop you into the same area as you were just in before. There are a few key concepts to note during your time down in the labyrinth. One of them is that the ends of the tunnels, or the trapdoor sections, are safe zones, and you may allow your health to fully recover before proceeding to the next set of tunnels. This process is made more efficient upon having the Quick Regen specialization equipped. The next key thing is that you want to be teleported into the next set of tunnels and not be falling through the trapdoor area provided. The fall from the trapdoor area may potentially kill you. The correct method is that once having interacted with any one of the plungers is to climb along the dirt mountains provided, avoiding the trapdoor area. The game will recognize that you have not fallen through the trapdoor and it will teleport you into the next set of tunnels. This prevents you from being accidentally killed by the fall damage if you were to fall through the trapdoor. Here, I let my health fully recover, I interact with the plunger, I climb the dirt mountain and orientate my character west, as it is the next direction that I have to travel. I will demonstrate this one more time. I will let my health fully recover, I will activate the plunger, climbing the dirt mountain, and orientate my body north, as it is the next direction that I have to travel. Once I've interacted with the plunger, I make sure to clear myself away from the trapdoor area. I do not want to spoil much more of the process through narration, because this has been your journey and it is an exciting part of the process. The only thing that I want to mention is that after collecting the Peacekeeper, you must click redeploy before you are able to equip it for all of your classes. You will not lose it once you've interacted with the prompt. If you input the sequence wrong for the detonation switches, you will still be able to interact with them at the end. If this is the case, just simply restart the inputting of the code from its beginning. Those who have a friend with an Escalation skin already equipped, have them click redeploy so that you can pick up their kit. Make sure to do this before entering the labyrinth. You will likely die during your first few attempts. The three main reasons will be fall damage, the toxic smoke grenades that deploy deeper in the mine shaft, or you do not have the proper requirements equipped, such as the dog tags or the weapon skin. Besides not having the proper requirements, if you die, just simply respawn and try again. Once again, you will need one of the front side and back side dog tags equipped, as well as an Escalation skin for the M1917, which should be in your loadout. If the game does not think that you have all the requirements, it will allow you to enter somewhat into the Passchendaele Mines before killing you, and it is quite stringent about this. You will hear an ominous noise followed by a grandfather clock noise. Do not try to cheat the system, the game will kill you. Let's take a look at a few examples where the game may think that we do not have all the requirements. In this example, I have an Escalation weapon skin equipped, but I do not have the front side nor back side dog tags necessary to progress further. The game will now kill me. In example number 2, you will see that I do not have an Escalation weapon skin equipped. Once again, I will be killed in the same manner as from before. In the last example, this is a new account. I only have one front side and one back side dog tag unlocked. I do not have the M1917 MG equipped. I will now be killed. As previously mentioned, the Perseverance perk is a great additional asset to have in your loadout, but it is not required. Originally, your character is coded to enter the pause idle animation once you enter the labyrinth. They will walk slower than their base speed. Having the wrench equipped before you enter the labyrinth will grant you the speed bonus, but it will not provide any additional protections. This is simply if you want to complete this requirement faster. It is very important that you avoid the trapdoor area once you've activated the plunger. I took more than 50 health in this example when, in my legitimate run, I was usually left with greater than 70 health. I will activate this plunger and you will see me fall through the trapdoor, able to see the next tunnel in real time. Despite being at full health, the fall still kills me. Avoid the trapdoor area. In this case, just respawn and try the labyrinth again in the same server. Here is a bonus section where I will show you how I personally solved the Floorlight puzzle for a conflict dog tag. You will need to copy my paper sheet exactly as shown. It is assumed that you've already completed steps 1 and 2, destroying all light sources and the candelabra puzzles respectively. I am now ready to map out my sandbag positions. I stand in the middle and the circle shot in front of me marks the top of the fountain square. The staircases control specific parts of the light zone grid. In the fountain square, I am currently facing the German spawn. In the chateau, I'm currently facing the field gun or the out of bounds territory. I am facing the top sections for both of these grids. You will notice that with the light spots, the cut or diagonal edges match the sharpied corners on the paper sheet. Turning 90 degrees to the right, I am now facing the Charlie flag. While I face the Charlie flag in the fountain square, I am facing the out of bounds territory for the light zone grid. Turning now 180 degrees from the top, I am now facing the rear section for both the fountain square and light zone grids. Outside in the fountain square, I am facing the chateau, but inside I am now pointed towards candlestick number 4. In the chateau, I am also facing somewhere between the Butters and Charlie objectives. Turning a last 90 degrees to the right, having completed now a 270-degree turn from the top, we are now facing the out-of-bounds territory for the German spawn. While I face the out-of-bounds territory for the German spawn in the fountain square, I am pointed towards the Delta flag inside the Objective Edward building, or the chateau. I will now show you each staircase once more to map out the sandbag positions. I have 2 sandbags within the top staircase, a yellow corner, C, F, and a red one away from the corner in the top right quadrant, A, G. Turning 90 degrees to the right, I am now facing the Charlie objective. There are 3 sandbags, C, F once again, D, F, and B, H. Turning 90 degrees to the right, I am now facing the rear sections for both of these grids. I have 4 sandbag positions, F, C, H, C, G, D, and H, D. I additionally have a green corner sandbag which was not represented by any of the light sections shown. It is E, D. Turning another 90 degrees to the right, facing the out-of-bounds territory, I have 4 sandbags. They are B, A, E, A, D, C, and F, C. Because the staircase shapes are trapezoids, some of the corner sections overlapped, but if you rewind, you will be able to tell that I announced 12 unique sandbag positions, and everyone will get 12 unique sandbag positions for their servers. Here is my updated paper sheet. I have mapped out the 12 sandbag positions in the fountain square and translated their exact positions into the 8x8 light zone grid. If you compare the fountain square on this sheet of paper with the previous photo just shown, you will see that the 12 positions match. It is now time to figure out the identities of the pillars. 4 will be my reference pillar. I will keep it the same as I test it with the pillar pairings of 4-1 through to 416. A light spot has generated. I will shoot it, letting myself know that I have previously seen it. The paper sheet now has a few new additions. I have marked the spot where the light spot activated with 4,1, meaning any new lights will now appear on row E or column G. I do not know this information yet. Furthermore, if you check the log in the top right corner, you will notice that I have marked the pillar pairing of 4,1 with a dot next to it, letting myself know that I have now activated this pillar pairing. In the case of pillar pairing 4 and 1, a light spot was generated here. This meant that either 4 or 1 controlled this column and this row. The intersection between these two generates a light spot here. Because it's only one point or one light spot in this investigation so far, I don't know if 1 or 4 controls this column, or if 1 or 4 controls this row. It is now time to test the next pillar pairing of 4, 2. I will activate pillars 4 and 2 and see the result inside. Pillars 4 and 2 will be a miss. No light spots were activated in row E or column G, the expected planes. New additions were made to the log in the top right corner. I have marked the pillar pairing of 4-2 with a dot to its left and an X to its right to let myself know that I have both tested and observed this pillar pairing as a miss, as no light spot was generated. You will also see the same approach taken to the pillar pairings of 4-3 and 4-5. These two pillar pairings would also be misses. I will now be testing the pillar pairing of 4 and 6. I did not know it at the time, but this will generate a light spot. I will head inside and see that a second light spot has activated in the same column. This is a crucial point in my investigation. 2 vertical lights means that my reference pillar is a column and that the two changing numbers and future numbers changed, so 7 to 16, any light spots generated will be rows, and therefore any misses are columns. By the end of my investigation of testing the pillar pairings of 4-1 through to 4-16, I will generate 7 misses in total. I have already covered 3 of them, and I will have a fully illuminated column by the end of step 1. The paper sheet will have experienced a few new additions. I have marked the second light spot in the 8x8 light zone grid, or row H, with 4, 6. I will update rows E with 1 and row H with 6. Because the reference pillar stayed the same, I know column G is now 4. If I were to have received 2 horizontal lights instead, then either row E or row H would have been 4, and 1 and 6 would have been respective columns. In the log, the pillar pairings of 4-1 through to 4-6 have been marked with dots on the left to let myself know that I have now interacted with them. In the event that they were misses, they have received a dot to their left to let myself know that I have interacted with them, and an X to their right. I will generate 7 misses in total. Earlier in my explanation, I will have stated that the pillar pairings of 4-2, 4-3, and 4-5 were all misses. No light spot was generated in these cases. Why is this? 2, 3, and 5, which for their exact positions I will have found later in the investigation, control these columns. As you can see, they do not intersect with column 4, so no light spot will be generated in these instances. This is why they were misses. For this server, the last pillar pairing I needed to activate was the pillar pairing of 4 and 13 before I had a fully illuminated column. This meant I did not need to test pillar pairings 414, 415, and 416. For the piece of paper, you will notice that all the rows have now been updated with their respective numbers, and in the log I have marked every single pillar pairing possible with dots to the left, and 7 of those pillar pairings have X's to the right, letting myself know that I've interacted with them and they have generated misses. By the time you finish the log section, you should have a fully lit column or a fully lit row depending on what the server has randomized for you. During my time of testing 4 with all the other pillars, I lit up one specific sandbag position. It is row A, column G, but now I can be more specific. It is row 12, column 4, and I will mark that specific sandbag position with a check, letting myself know that I've activated that position and I will not turn off that light. Unfortunately, it was just a matter of random chance which row or column I got for 4, and it ended up being column G, which only had one sandbag position compared to some of the other columns which have 2 or even 3. Now the next step is to test one of the rows I've discovered with the misses I've generated because I know that the misses are columns. As a matter of efficiency, I will choose a testing row which has the most sandbags. Most of the rows featured show 2 sandbag positions, so it doesn't really matter. In this example, I chose row H, or 6, to test with all of the misses because it's more in the shadows and it would be easier to see the lights activated. Just to summarize, choosing which row you'd like to test is simply a matter of efficiency. It does not matter because any row, testing them with the misses, will work. I would be choosing row 6 because it's in the shadows, meaning I can see the lights better. But if there was another row with more sandbag positions available as I tested the misses, then I would choose that row instead because that means I would leave more lights on. Here I will now test my first miss, the pillar pairing of 6, 2, because 6 is the row and 2 is the column that missed. A light spot will be generated. If you generate a miss when testing your misses, you have done something wrong. I've made some new additions to the paper sheet. For the light zone grid, I've updated column F with 2. I have also, in the log, crossed off the pillar pairing of 4, 2, letting myself know that I have tested that miss. I will test 5 more misses because the last miss will occupy the empty column, so I don't need to test it. In this walkthrough, I tested the pillars of 2, 3, 5, 8, 15, and 16. I did not test 14 because I made a mistake. But if I were to redo the walkthrough, I would leave out testing the pillar 16. Similar to the column when I tested 4 with all the other pillars, row 6 will be fully illuminated less one spot because of simple deductioning. But a fully lit row and fully lit column less one spots for each will mark that I now know the identities of all the pillars and what rows or columns they control for this server. But you will have to figure out this information for yourself. This Floorlight puzzle is server dependent, meaning the pillars are randomized and which pillars control rows and which pillars control columns is randomized for each and every server you hop into Swansong. Here is visually what the final result will look like. You will have one row fully lit minus one spot and one column fully lit minus one spot. The gap in one spot is simply because of deductioning, meaning when you test and you only have one pillar spot available for a row or a column, then obviously it must be that spot. I have made a few new additions to the paper sheet. There were 2 sandbag positions within row 6. They have been activated and they will be left permanently on for the rest of the requirement. Columns A to H have been updated with their respective numbers. I have also added a new section to the log, Step 2, labeled Off. These lights as part of my test row and test column are not part of my sandbag configuration, and they do not meet with the goal that I must have the 12 specific sandbag positions activated in terms of their light spots. Therefore, I have listed the pillar pairings that do not correspond to these positions. I will turn these lights off by activating the same pillar pairing as before, and the light spots will turn off. By the end of this process, I will have 3 light spots remaining on my Floorlight puzzle, and the pillar pairings with an off will be all crossed off as I deactivate those lights. Here, I'm interacting with the pillar pairing of row 6, column 3, which will turn off row H, column A. As I walk back into the chateau, 3 lights will be activated, corresponding to 3 of the 12 sandbag positions activated in terms of their light spots. It is now time for the final push. 3 sandbag positions have been activated and checked off in the light zone grid. In the Step 2 off section in the log, pillar pairings that have been used for testing but are irrelevant to my goal have been crossed off. I've added a 3rd section, sandbags, which are the 9 remaining specific light spots that I have to activate to complete this requirement. The off sections and sandbag sections can vary depending on how many sandbag positions you activate during your testing. I am now activating the pillar pairings of row 13, column 5, which will activate the 11th of the 12 light spots in my light zone grid. You will see that the positions of the light spots match what is shown in the light zone grid on the paper sheet. The last pillar pairing that I need to activate is row 1, column 3. When the 12th and final light spot is activated, a smoke grenade will drop and an ominous noise will proceed to play. The dog tag is awarded to 1 player only, whoever activates the 12th and final light spot to complete the Floorlight puzzle. When I go back inside, I will have 12 light spots that match what is seen in the fountain square and what is seen in the light zone grids. I will no longer be able to interact with any of the pillars. Here is the final updated version of the paper sheet. The 12 specific light spots have now been checked off. The pillar pairings needed to get to this stage have been crossed off in the sandbag step 3 section. An entire run of the conflict dog tag requirement should take anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes, from destroying all light sources within the chateau to completing the Floorlight puzzle. If you are confused about any part of this process, I have a special playlist made for the conflict dog tag. It features multiple tutorials and walkthroughs where one walkthrough should be sufficient. It covers me doing an example of the conflict dog tag, narrating the entire process. Now go forth, my beautiful Passchendaele warrior. Less talking for me, more peacekeeping for you. This was recorded at 75% volume. Is that a fish tank?